Hey everyone, my name is Jermaine and welcome back to the Reading Room for Kids. I'm so glad to have you here. Let's dive into another wonderful story. And today's book is called Vivi Loves Science, Wind and Water. Vivi listened to the wind howl. She watched the rain splash against her window. It was a stormy night, but Vivi felt safe and warm tucked in her bed. Did you hear the storm last night? Vivi asked at breakfast the next morning. Yes, said Vivi's mother. It was a big one. I heard Ranger Early needs volunteers to help clean up the beach, said Vivi's father. Let's go, Vivi jumped up from the table. Graham can come too. When Vivi and Graham got to the beach, they couldn't believe what they saw. There were bottles covering the dunes, there were cans on the sand, there was debris everywhere. The beach was a mess. It looked completely different. Where are the tide pools? Asked Vivi. What happened to the dunes? Asked Graham. A big storm can change the shape of the land, Ranger Early explained. But how? Vivi asked. Storms can cause erosion, said Ranger Early. What is erosion? Asked Vivi. Erosion is when natural forces such as wind or water move or wear away rock or soil, Ranger Early said. Erosion can change a coastline and create rivers and canyons. Wow, said Vivi. Like the Grand Canyon? That's right, said Ranger Early. Vivi and Graham took a break to have a snack. Ranger Early told them about other famous examples of erosion from around the world. Mammoth Cave, Elephant Trunk Hill, White Cliffs of Dover. Erosion can happen very quickly, like with this big storm, she said, or it can take a very long time, even millions of years. Miss Cusco, Vivi, and Graham's science teacher at school was helping to clean up the beach too. Hey kids, said Miss Cusco. Did you know that the storm filled the tide pools? Vivi asked her. Ranger Early told us how wind and water can change the shape of the land, Graham said. Look at the new dunes. They were caused by erosion, said Vivi. You got it, said Miss Cusco. Ocean waves are a powerful force, and so is the wind. Graham and Vivi worked hard to clean up the beach. They picked up the bottles, they hauled away the cans, and they collected the garbage. It took all day. Luckily, many people from the community pitched in and helped. The next day in science class, Vivi and Graham told their friends about how the beach had changed because of the storm. Yesterday, Graham and Vivi learned about erosion, Miss Cousteau said. Today, we will do an experiment to show us how wind and water can move sand. Miss Cusco gave everyone a worksheet. She gave Vivi and Graham the materials for the experiment. They had 2 containers, sand, water, and a straw. Earth science is a study of how Earth changes over time, Miss Cusco said. Wind and water are very important forces on Earth. Graham dumped sand in one container, making a small hill. First, we will talk about water, he said. Did you know that water erosion creates rivers and streams? Vivi asked. Water can also carve out caves and hills and make cracks in the rocks, Graham added. Vivi picked up a container of water. Watch what happens when I pour water on the sand. I'm pretending to be rain, she said. See how the water ran down the hill, Graham said? It pushed the sand out the way and made a river. That's erosion, Vivi exclaimed. That's so cool, says Mia. Graham dumped the pile of sand in the other container. Now we will talk about wind, he said. Did you know that wind helps make sand dunes at the beach? Vivi asked. And some sand dunes in the desert are thousands of feet high, Graham added. Taller than the tallest buildings in the world, Vivi said. This time Vivi used a straw. She blew on the sand. I'm pretending to be wind, she said. See how the wind moved the sand, Graham said. Look, Mia pointed. The pile of sand changed shape. I think erosion is cool, Benji said. It is, but sometimes erosion can be dangerous, said Miss Cusco. For example, sand dunes are important because they keep water from traveling inland and flooding towns and homes. I bet that's why we can't walk on the dunes, Vivi said. Miss Cusco nodded. That's right. We don't want to crush the plants that hold the sand dunes together. On Saturday, Vivi and Graham went back to the beach. Look, The tide pools are here, said Vivi. Good point. The wind and the waves from the storm moved the sand in, Ranger Early said, and the water from the tide took the sand away again. Without erosion, we wouldn't have the beach, Graham said. Vivi smiled. Without science, she said, we wouldn't know how things work. Science is the best. And that is the end of this story. I hope y'all like it, and I'll see y'all for the next one.